Hello, this is David Pascoe. This video is my slides that I will be showing for the WordPress Perth presentation in May 2016. If you wanted to hear me speak over the slides, then this is the video where I'll just add some words to the slides. So this talk today is about how to have a secure WordPress site for free, how you can get a certificate and install it without costing you any money. So let's go. So when you talk about a secure website, it can have lots of different meanings. Today, I want to talk about the security of HTTPS. So you get the little green padlock on your address bar when people visit your WordPress site. So that's what I mean by security is for today's talk. Why would we be interested in such a thing? Well, Google has hinted that they would like to use HTTPS as a ranking signal to show quality websites, that it would be something they would use to say that the website deserves a good ranking. So in August 2014, they said that they would encourage it and that they're experimenting with using security certificates as a ranking signal. So that was the first clue that we should do it, and there's been a general move across the internet to move towards more secure sites. Now, if you are using WordPress.com for your website, you already have a HTTPS access for all of your visitors. So if you're using something hosted directly on WordPress.com, here is an example of one little site, and you can see the green padlock there. And recently, WordPress also added custom domains to the list of free certificates. And so if you're paying your yearly fee to host your custom WordPress domain on WordPress.com, you will now have a free certificate, and you should see green padlocks today. So what is that padlock all about? I'm going to try and keep the discussion to two ideas, because internet security is a pretty complicated topic. It's about two things: privacy and authentication. So privacy means that if people see the padlock, the web traffic is private between the web browser and the web server. So your employer, your ISP, can't easily see what you're doing on that website. It's not guaranteed that they can't see it, but it makes it much harder for anybody to snoop on what you're doing within the web page. And authentication is the other part of this puzzle. It shows that when you visit a site, there is some trust you can attribute to the name on the domain being who they say they are. So they've had to prove at some stage that joe.com really is owned by, is really a genuine site owned by the owner of that domain. So that's really what it's all about. Those are the two main reasons you would ever want a padlock or a secure site, is to have privacy and authentication. There is a couple of things I won't be talking about today, and it's not relevant to today's discussion, but it's worthwhile mentioning what we're not talking about. So the first thing we're not talking about is something called an extended validation certificate, or an EV. If you visit WordPress.com top level domain, you'll see not only do you get a green padlock, you get a green address bar portion with a name of the company and a country. So that's called an extended validation certificate, and that's much more complicated. They're much more expensive than normal certificates, and that's not for today's topic. That's something completely separate. So if you ever see extended validation, or EV, that's got nothing to do with the sort of certificates we're talking about today. So let's get down to it. How can you have a secure website on WordPress for free without having to spend any money? This is something new. Previously, you've always had to pay for a certificate. Well, there is a project that's just about a year old. It's called Let's Encrypt, and they are making available free web certificates for anybody who wants them. So that's what I will be talking about today, is how to use Let's Encrypt to create a certificate and install it and start using it. Let's Encrypt has got off to a great start. Firstly, Automatic, the company behind WordPress, is a big supporter, and there are other large, well-known internet heavyweights around supporting it as well. So it's here to stay, and it's well funded, and is definitely going to hang around. And the other reason is SiteGround, which is a hosting company that I use, also has very good support for it, making it extremely simple to install the certificate. Now, there are other options for a free SSL or HTTPS certificate. One more I've come across is if you're hosting your site on Amazon's cloud service, they do have the ability to create certificates for free for you as well. But that's only if you're using their cloud service and you install it on the Elastic Load Balancer, that's the ELB, and you have a console to create them and install them. The other thought I wanted to leave with you about experimenting with certificates is many certificate providers will offer an evaluation cert that's only valid for 90 days or a month or something. So just be aware, if it says free, it might only just be a one you can use for a short time, then have to go and pay for it. The idea of having a certificate for free is something quite new, and it doesn't seem to be available anywhere else other than those two places. Now, if you are using SiteGround, it's very simple to install and create a certificate. You can see in the middle here is the Let's Encrypt cPanel widget, and you just click on it and then choose the website that you're hosting there and install, and that's it. It goes off, grants it and installs it, and it's ready to use. So it's just 2 clicks on SiteGround, because they wrote their own cPanel widget for it. I'll talk about how you can do it in a little. If you don't have access to SiteGround, you can also still use a Let's Encrypt based certificate. We'll talk about that in a minute. The next thing that you'll want to do after creating your certificate and installing it is reconfigure your WordPress site settings. So here you can see I've added an S into my WordPress address and site address, and that will now mean that WordPress is serving all pages with HTTPS in them. Once you've done that, you should then be able to visit your website and see a green padlock. You might not yet. Let's talk about the problems you'll have in a minute. Now, one of the other configuration changes you might like to make is to redirect all traffic that's coming to your site over to the secured version of the site. So what you want is everybody who visits your site HTTP to actually end up with HTTPS, so that your site is secure for everyone. Now here is the htaccess file that you might recognize. It has a typical WordPress block here at the bottom. What you can do is add 3 lines similar to what's here in the red box, and that will redirect everybody permanently for you. Now, if that's all gibberish, maybe you can ask your web host to do this for you. If you don't have a web host that would just do it for you, well, maybe it's time to look for a better web host that would do this. If you sent them a ticket and say, could you please redirect all traffic for me, they should be able to do this kind of update for you. If you would like to install the certificate yourself, you can. There is a client that will go and create this and install it for you. You need to be able to run a Python script on your web server. So if you know how to use GitHub and run terminal sessions on your server, then this will make sense to you, and you'll be able to install it on almost any web server you have. There are other clients as well, but this is the main officially supported Let's Encrypt client, is this Python client. There are many others as well. What it does, just to give you a bit of information, background information, it runs a protocol called ACME between the client and the Let's Encrypt certificate authority, and they do the validation of your domain, and if you are validly hosting that domain, it will allow a certificate to be created, and it will write it into the configuration area of the server, and then you'll be able to reconfigure your web server to pick up this newly created certificate. You'll see I've used the -W option. That's for the web root mode of running the client, where you tell it where the website is installed, and it will then know how to find it to verify it. Now, you're likely to come across problems when you try and install your, when you try and run your certificate. Here you can see I've got a HTTPS site, but it's not green. And the normal reason for that is called a mixed content problem, where the page now contains some secure objects and some insecure objects. Typical reasons for this are, in your theme, you might have a absolute URL to an image that needs to be updated to now be a secure URL. There could be CSS references, scripts, plugins pulling in other content, so that all of those objects will need to be updated to only ask for secure objects. So the way to do that is to use the browser's debug option and look onto the JavaScript console, and it will tell you that which object is being loaded insecurely on a secure page. I won't give a demonstration of how to do that, but there is a video I will point to which gives you an idea of how to do it. If you already know how to use JavaScript console on your favorite web browser, then that won't be a problem. Otherwise, you'll probably need to get somebody to help you do it. There are some other potential problems you might come into. One is if your web server is underpowered, or you have a very slow connection from your web server to the internet, you might notice some slowdown. Web encryption doesn't come for absolutely free. The amount of overhead is reducing all the time with faster servers and more efficient protocols. So Google does realize that they are pushing everyone towards secure links, and that it does come at some cost, but their research indicates that you should be able to only see about a 1% CPU load increase and maybe a 2% network load increase because of the extra traffic required for the secure connections. The other thing worth pointing out also is that the next version of the web transfer protocol, called HTTP2, really is pushing everyone to use HTTPS. So all of the new features that are designed to speed up the way the web works will require secure connections. So we really are being pushed pretty hard to provide HTTPS everywhere. One of the things about a Let's Encrypt certificate is that it only has a 90-day lifetime. That may seem strange, but there is about 10 to 15% of the certificates on the internet at the moment are only valid for 90 days. And Let's Encrypt are saying this is actually a security feature, whereby, excuse me, it is means if your certificate is stolen or incorrectly issued, then that problem will correct itself in 90 days because the certificate will expire. What Let's Encrypt are suggesting is that this is an opportunity now for everyone to support or look at how to have automatic renewal of certificates. Because even if you have a 1-year cert, you still need to go away at the end of the year, find the company that gave it to you, find your login, go reissue it, reinstall it, test it. So even that can take days to do. So an automatic renewal for certificates is a good idea in general. So they're suggesting that's what you should set up for your Let's Encrypt. I should say that this the SiteGround cPanel widget handles that automatically. There is some cron job, I'm not sure, I can't see what it is that they wrote, will go around and renew it for you automatically. And if we look back on the script, you'll see that there's a renew command there, so that you could have a long running cron job, run it every month if you wanted, and it will install the new cert for you. So that's what I wanted to present to you today about Let's Encrypt. With my summary of Let's Encrypt is that it should be available for free right now. Go and ask your hosting company why, where is it? If it's not available, why not? And when is it available? And if they're not providing it for you, or they don't have a plan, it's time to look for a better host. And if you are hosting sites for WordPresses out there, then you should also be moving to provide it to your clients now for free. Thanks for listening.